The thing about corporate espionage is that the real damage isn't done with a bomb. It's done with a signature. I learned that on the day I legally became Anya Volkov, an identity I purchased 3 years ago and had been perfecting ever since. My real name is Seraphina Hayes, and my mission wasn't to steal files. It was to dismantle a corrupt media empire from the inside out. The target was Cerberus Global, a vast conglomerate run by the fiercely private Moretti family, which controlled everything from satellite communications to political campaigns. My mother, a whistleblower who tried to expose Cerberus's data manipulation, was disgraced and driven out of the industry. My mission was personal vengeance, cloaked in professional malice. My entrance ticket, a contract marriage. Cerberus Global's CEO, the patriarch Alessandro Moretti, insisted his sons marry within the industry to secure loyalty. I, as Anya Volkov, a manufactured heiress with a spotless but fake past, was selected for the youngest son, the formidable Silas Moretti. What I didn't know was that while I was perfecting my bridal facade, Silas was conducting his own covert operation. He didn't just inherit the family business. He managed its most dangerous secrets, and he knew my manufactured identity was too perfect to be real. The prenuptial meeting. The setting was the Moretti penthouse suite overlooking Central Park. It wasn't opulent. It was starkly powerful, all glass, steel, and unyielding angles. I sat across a massive marble table from the man who was about to become my husband, preparing to sign the most restrictive prenuptial agreement in corporate history. Silas Moretti was 36, radiating the kind of disciplined control that made him terrifying. He wasn't overtly charismatic like his older brother. He was quiet, intense, with eyes the color of cold steel that missed nothing. He wore a simple, perfectly tailored suit, giving him the appearance of a master tactician who treated marriage like a merger. Paragraph 4.2. Silas's voice was low, flat, and utterly devoid of emotion. Any attempt to access internal Cerberus databases, physical servers, or private family records results in immediate divorce, forfeiture of all assets, and a $500 million penalty to be paid immediately by the offending party or their sponsors. I smiled sweetly. A very thorough clause, Silas, but given my Volkov assets far outweigh the value of the marital estate, I find it slightly insulting. He didn't return the smile. He simply leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, his gaze locking onto mine. Miss Volkov, you are too knowledgeable about data encryption to be merely an heiress, and your family's history in communication infrastructure is too recent to explain your expertise in political influence. My heart hammered. He was fishing, or worse, he already knew something. I held my professional smile. Perhaps I'm just thorough. Unlike you, I intend for this marriage to last, Mr. Moretti. Do you? He countered, his voice barely a whisper. He reached into his briefcase and slid a single sheet of paper across the table. It wasn't the prenup. It was a highly detailed analysis of the Volkov family's corporate history, my fake history. The analysis ended with a small, highlighted footnote. Origin of funds for initial Volkov acquisition, untraceable, suspected proxy. My blood ran cold. He hadn't just looked at my file, he had run a forensic investigation. He tilted his head slightly, a cold, challenging look in his eyes. The problem isn't the assets you possess, Miss Volkov. The problem is the assets you are hiding, the real Seraphina Hayes. I didn't flinch, I couldn't. I'm afraid I don't follow, Mr. Moretti. He sighed, a barely perceptible gesture of impatience. He reached out and tapped the paper. You're an excellent spy, Seraphina, but you're a terrible actor. I didn't need to read the files to know you're here under false pretenses. I just needed to watch how you reacted when my father brought up the integrity of Cerberus's data. He then slid a second piece of paper over the table, a worn, official-looking document. It was a partial copy of a disgraceful discharge letter from my mother's former company, the one that Cerberus had ruined. You see, Seraphina, the marriage proposal was never about family loyalty, Silas admitted, his voice dropping to a dangerous baritone. It was a trap. I needed to see who would take the bait. I needed to find the whistleblower's daughter, and you walked right into my home. He looked me dead in the eye, the contract marriage suddenly becoming a hostage negotiation. Now you have a choice. Sign the prenup, Play the loving wife and find out who really discredited your mother. Was it my father or his rival? Or I expose you as a foreign agent and ruin you before you reach the altar. We'll discuss the final vows later.